Hi everyone, this is the commentary for Ezra, Vision 7 of 7. So we're just going to jump right in as the last part of this lesson. We're going to skip past all of the summaries. I'll have those available afterward. So here's the interlude right before the seventh vision. So just to recap, the first three visions were a visit from the angel Uriel, and then the next three are dreams that are interpreted by the angel or by the Lord. And then the seventh is going to be a face to face with the Lord where he gets his mission to perform. So this is the interlude right before that final vision. Then went I forth into the field, giving praise and thanks greatly unto the Most High because of his wonders which he did in time. And because he governeth the same, and such things as fall in their seasons, and there I sat 3 days. And it came to pass on the third day I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of the bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, Here am I, Lord, and I stood up upon my feet. Then he said unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses, and talked with him, when my people served in Egypt. And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt, and brought him up to the mount of where I held him by me a long season, and told him many wondrous things, and showed him the secrets of the times and the end, and commanded him, saying, These words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide. And now I say unto thee that thou lay up in thy heart the signs which I have showed, and the dreams which thou hast seen, and the interpretations which thou hast heard. For thou shalt be taken away from all, and from thenceforth thou shalt remain with my son, and with such as be like thee, until the times be ended. For the world hath lost his youth, and the times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10th parts of it are gone already, and half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part. Now, that's very confusing, and I don't necessarily have an answer for that one. That's your guess is as good as mine as to what that's meaning. That it's divided into 12 parts, and 10 and a half of it are gone already. Because if we're looking at the timeline of Ezra, he's definitely more in the middle of the whole time frame of the earth. He's not 10 and a half out of 12. So like 80% through it. So I welcome all interpretations to that. Now therefore set thine house in order, and reprove thy people. Comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. Let go from thee mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of man. Put off now the weak nature, and set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. For look how much the world shall be weaker through age, so much the more shall evils increase upon them that dwell therein. For the time is fled far away, and leasing is hard at hand. For now hasteneth the vision to come which thou hast seen. Then answered I before thee, and said, Behold, Lord, I will go, as thou hast commanded me, and reprove the people which are present. But they that shall be born afterward, who shall admonish them? Thus the world is set in darkness, and they that dwell therein are without light. For thy law is burnt, therefore no man knoweth the things that are done of thee, or of the work that shall begin. But if I have found grace before thee, send the Holy Ghost into me, and I shall write all that hath been done in the world since the beginning, which were written in the law, that men may find thy path, that they which will live in the latter days may live. And he said unto me, and he answered me, saying, Go thy way, gather the people together, and say unto them, that they seek thee not for 40 days. But look thou, prepare thee many box trees, and take with thee Sariah, Dabria, Salemia, Icanus, and Asiel, these 5 which are ready to write swiftly. And come hither, and I shall light a candle and understanding in thy heart, which shall not be put out, till the things be performed which thou shalt begin to write. And when thou hast done, some things shalt thou publish, and some things shalt thou show secretly to the wise. Tomorrow this hour shalt thou begin to write. Then went I forth as he commanded, and gathered all the people together, and said, Hear these words, O Israel. Our fathers at the beginning were strangers in Egypt, from whence they were delivered, and received the law of life, which they kept not, which ye also have transgressed after them. Then was the land, even the land of Zion, parted among you by lot by your fathers, and ye yourselves have done unrighteousness, and have not kept the ways which the highest commandeth you. And forasmuch as he is a righteous judge, he took from you in time the thing which he had given you. And now are ye here, and your brethren among you. Therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts, ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. For after death shall the judgment come, when we shall live again, and then shall the names of the righteous be manifest, and the works of the ungodly shall be declared. Let no man therefore come unto me now, nor seek me after these 40 days. So I took the 5 men as he commanded me, and we went into the field and remained there. And the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Esdras, open thy mouth, and drink that I give thee to drink. Then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full as if it were with water, but the color of it was like fire. And I took it and drank, and when I had drunk of it, my heart uttered understanding, and wisdom grew in my breast. For my spirit strengthened my memory, and my mouth was opened and shut no more. The highest gave understanding unto the 5 men, and they wrote the wondrous visions of the night that were told, which they knew not. And they sat 40 days, and they wrote in the day, and the night they ate bread. As for me, I spake in the day, and held not my tongue by night. In 40 days they wrote 204 books, and it came to pass, when the 40 days were filled, that the highest spake, saying, The first that thou hast written, publish openly, that the worthy and unworthy may read it. But keep the 70 last, that thou mayest deliver them only to such as be wise among the people. For in them is the spring of understanding, the fountain of wisdom, and the stream of knowledge. And I did so. So that's the end of 2nd Esdras, chapters 3 through 14. This is the summary of the 7th vision. So the Lord commands Esdras to collect 5 specific people to be scribes, and they are to seclude themselves for 40 days, and they're going to write everything that the Lord reveals to them. Esdras receives revelation, and they write 204 books. So if you do the math from all of these different little things, sometimes it doesn't really add up to the 204, but in the actual wording of Esdras, we see that it says 204 books. So some of the books are for everyone, for the general public, and then 70 of them are to be sealed and are only to be revealed to those that are ready and wise. So it's highly contested what those 70 sealed books are, but here are some possible ones that have been talked about as being written by Ezra or restored by Ezra, because these were written from the original prophets. That's not doctrine. These are just possibilities. In no way is that list all conclusive. Those are just the best possible bets that we have at this point. So let's take a look at some clarification things before we really dive in and talk about Ezra as a whole. So here's the Babylonian exile time frame. So we have, at the very bottom of the screen, we have our normal timeline that we have on all of the slides. And then just above that, we have a icon representation of each of the kind of individual times here. And so we're only looking at a small piece of the whole history of the world, just the Babylonian exile time frame. And so here we have the timeline from 620 BC to 380 BC. We have Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar, which are the Babylonian captors, and then the Persians come in and conquer the Babylonians, and so Cyrus and those that come after him are Persians, but the Jews are still under captivity under both the Babylonians and the Persians. Anytime that there's a fade or a gradient on somebody's timeline, we don't exactly know what date their birth was or their death was. It's just somewhere in that time frame and an approximate guess. So we have the major key figures here in Babylonian captivity. We have Daniel, Haggai and Zechariah, Esther, Malachi, Ezra, and Nehemiah. Ezra and Nehemiah are kind of companions. They go together. Their books were found together as one scroll. They're written on one scroll. They were never meant to be separated. It's the same storyline. Nehemiah picks up where Ezra leaves off. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. So before we go into the timeline and explanation, it's important to really delineate these temples of Israel. So a lot of times, the temple of Zerubbabel and Herod are combined when we're counting. And sometimes the portable tabernacle is ignored, but the most accurate count of the temples that Israel has had is 4. The tabernacle of Moses, Solomon's temple, Zerubbabel's temple, and Herod's temple. They are distinct with their own separate dedications. We often hear of a future 3rd temple, or sometimes it's even referred to as a 4th temple, but accurately, it should be described as the 5th temple, if we're talking about distinctly constructed edifices with identifiable dedication ceremonies or celebrations. If we're only referring to sanctioned or approved temples, ones that had the Shekinah, the holy presence, then we've only had 2 with a 3rd one on the way. So that's possibly what some are talking about. And that would be Solomon's temple and Ezekiel's future temple, along with the portable tabernacle of Moses. So keep in mind that, because we're going to be diving into Zerubbabel's temple and that in context of Ezra. The next thing to look at is the Samaritans. Here we'll see the first time that the Samaritans are introduced after the Assyrian and Babylonian dispersions and their interactions with the people that come back to Jerusalem. So Nebuchadnezzar, the leader of Babylon, and Shalmaneser, the leader of Assyria, didn't completely wipe out the people of the land of Judah. They left the poor, the desolate, the sickly. They didn't want those people coming into their capitals and cities and causing weakness. And so they left them in the land of Judah. And a lot of times they even brought in other captive nations in to marry and intermarry, because in Israel, bloodlines were so important to the people. And so as they're subjecting the people, they're going to cause inflict much pain and grief upon the people. And so they're going to destroy those bloodlines and force them to intermarry so that those bloodlines are absolved. Samaria is the location of Jacob's well, Mount Gerizim and Ebal, which are the blessings and the cursings of Israel. It's where Jacob's bones are found and many other holy locations. So since they weren't allowed in Jerusalem, the second best place to set up a capital would be in Samaria. It's kind of the second holy place other than the city of Jerusalem. So when they see that these Babylonian captives are returning to build a temple, why wouldn't the Samaritans want to help? Why wouldn't they want to build and worship their God after all of this time? So when they do this, the Zerubbabel and those that are with him do not let the Samaritans help build the temple. And so the Samaritans tattletale and go and tell the captor king that, oh, they're not letting us help and they shouldn't rebuild the temple, kind of a thing. And so temple construction stops. And so I think it's important to note that this divide, this hatred for the Samaritans from the people of Jerusalem is long and deep, and it starts from their captivity, but it really hastens here in the Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah timeline. And that plays an important part in the future, i.e. the woman at the well during Christ's time and things like that. So here are some recommended videos. I was searching and creating slides, and I found that people have already done it. Why reinvent the wheel? So these are 2 of the best videos that I could find on Ezra and Nehemiah that are out there. I'll link in the description below so that you can easily click on these. The first one is by Tim Mackey, and that's the one that I highly recommend. It's only, how long, like 8 minutes or so, and it is so in depth. While I do not agree with every single thing that he talks about in there, it is worthy of our study here. So go pause this video, go and watch that video. But if you don't have time, I'm going to quickly summarize some of the history of Ezra and everything that we've covered in this class really quickly. So, after the reigns of Saul, David, and Solomon, the Israelites turn idolatrous again, and their righteousness is never really great, although the southern kingdom has a couple of good rulers who try to turn things around. The Assyrians conquer the northern kingdom, and the Babylonians come and conquer the southern kingdom. Ezra is born in captivity. He's a descendant of Joshua, the first high priest, and Sariah, the last high priest. So the downtrodden captives look to him as their religious guide. And he receives 7 visions, which are tutoring sessions for him. The first 3 are from an angel Uriel, who helps him overcome his pride and his misconceptions. The next 3 are dreams. 1 is about a past event, and 2 are future prophecies for the last days. Then the final vision is from the Lord himself, which gives Ezra a mission to perform, writing many books, some of which are public and some are saved for the wise who are ready. So Zerubbabel then enters the stage as he petitions their captor king to let a group of them return and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem, which they do. Ezra petitions a future captor king for another group to go back, and he reforms the Jerusalemites in the law. Then, after that, Nehemiah petitions the king, and another group returns to rebuild the walls. All 3 groups struggle in their project's longevity. So this video by Tim Mackey, I'm not exactly sure which religion. I haven't studied who Tim Mackey is really. I just know that he created an awesome video. But he does have a 4-part lecture series about the book Ezra and Nehemiah for pastors and how people can teach and create sermon series on Ezra and Nehemiah. So I watched all 4 parts of that. It's really long. But after watching it, he mentioned a couple of things that really started setting off my light bulbs. So I'm paraphrasing, but he mentions that there are 3 steps here that are important. There's 3 different leaders with things to be done for Israel, and they are in order. The first is to build and create a place of security. Second is to refine the hearts of the people and prepare them for God. And then third is to fortify and defend. So my light bulbs are going off. I've heard this talk before, and I'm sure you have too, if you watched conference. So in October 2020, President Nelson gave a talk called Embrace the Future with Faith. And he gave the same principles in the exact same order. We know that the Lord always works in patterns. And President Nelson was referring to Captain Moroni and his successful defense of the Nephites. Ezra and his crew did not see this success because of the people's hearts. But it's the same story, but with different outcomes. So I believe that Ezra is highly significant and worthy of our intense study, along with President Nelson's talk from conference, so that we can compare and contrast and really see what the Lord's doing with both sets of people. He's trying to reform and get the prophets to reform the people, yet one is successful and one is not. And I think that this plays out with many prophets, with Moses, with anybody who's tried to lead a reform. But these are 2 that, we're studying Ezra, so that's why I'm bringing up this example. And then conference just barely happened, so that's why I'm comparing and contrasting these 2 specific stories. But you could go ahead and compare and contrast all of the different ones as well. So let's take a look at President Nelson's, what's he been up to since he became our prophet. In 2018, he restructured and rebuilt some things from the ground up. In 2019, he prepared the hearts of the people to receive God and prepare for the future plagues and attacks that would be coming. And then in 2020, it's been all about doing whatever we can to receive personal revelation and to hear him. It's like fortify, 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 and never stop preparing. Is there any coincidence that he gave this Embrace the Future talk at this exact conference? So I would like to pose the question, after watching these videos on Ezra and his preparation, why would you say that it's important to study the book of Esdras in the Apocrypha? So all of the things, the 7 visions that we've looked at and studied, why is that important for our latter days? I mean, we do have a couple of latter day prophecies in there. Yes, Ezra's eagle, the Messiah. But why should we study the book of Esdras? And why should we study Esdras along with the book of Ezra and Nehemiah that's in our current Bible? So I think this is a great time to reflect and ask ourselves, just as President Nelson's showing us and exemplifying for us. So, did I really change and restructure my life in 2018? Did I rebuild the temple as Zerubbabel did? Did I embrace ministering in the higher, holier way? Or am I still just home teaching and visiting teaching with check boxes? Do I still use the term Mormon incorrectly, referring to the group of saints? Did I rebuild my sanctuary of faith really? Do I do the Come Follow Me program effectively? Since 2019, is my heart prepared fully for God? And then, like Nehemiah, do I hear him every day, every hour, every minute? Am I letting God prevail so that I can defend against the adversary? Am I receiving the blessings of the Abrahamic covenant for me and my family? Do I even know what the blessings are? So my next video, possibly even a series of videos, I don't know, I haven't developed it out yet, but they'll be focused on the principles from Ezra chapters 7 through 10. It's been on my mind a lot recently, and I've been prompted to focus my attention there before we move on to Daniel. So when Ezra returned to establish Torah and rebuild the community, he issued a very confusing divorce decree, which boggles a lot of people's minds. A lot of Christians find it very antithetical. So why would he do that? What purpose did it serve? How did the people react? And why did it lead to their eventual downfall? And we're going to compare and contrast that to Captain Moroni's time and the things that they were commanded to divorce, for lack of a better word. So we'll discuss this at length pretty soon. I'm not sure how long it'll take me to create those slides and develop that all out, but that's coming pretty soon. So I hope you've learned a lot from the book of Esdras, from his 7 visions, and we're going to be diving into Ezra really quick and some more lessons from his life before we go on to Daniel. Daniel will be in the new year in 2021. But right now we're going to keep trekking along with Ezra. We'll see you next week.